In this video, I'm going to discuss my proof of concept of an issue which is being discussed on ArchISO's GitLab. And the proposal here by the user is to add a graphical environment to Relang. Now, ArchISO is the script that I used to create my ALG ISOs when the project was active. It is also the script that Arch Linux official team uses to build their official ISOs every month. And it is also the script that projects or distributions like EndeavourOS and Arco Linux use. So it's pretty significant, and Relang is basically a profile of ArchISO. And when I say Arch Linux team uses it to create their ISOs, this is the base Relang. So what I use or what Arco or Endeavour use is a heavily modified version of Relang. So the base Relang doesn't have a graphical environment by default, and that is why when you install Arch Linux, you end up in a TTY environment and you have to install Arch via the wiki or using the Arch install script. So what this proposal is to solve a couple of problems that the TTY environment brings in. One of the major issues that anyone might face is to have two devices. So one device is a laptop or a desktop on which you are installing Arch Linux, and there is a second device that you'd need to open the wiki or see a video on YouTube. Now, Arch provides Link's web browser by default in the ISO, so you need to navigate in the TTY back and forth via links. But links is pretty limited, and again the TTY itself is pretty limited. So the proposal here is to use, for example, Plasma desktop and a browser like Firefox. So I am on Plasma right now, I am on Firefox right now, and I'm just going to show you a proof of concept that how with the help of a graphical environment, installing Arch Linux eliminates one of the problems that I just discussed, that is the need of two devices. So by the way, ALG has been discontinued, so this in no way is trying to violate any of the trademark policy or anything like that. It's just to support this particular issue. And also David Rung, who is the maintainer of ArchISO, he has said no to this at the moment. He says that experimenting with a graphical environment should happen in a separate profile. So it makes sense. What he's saying is basically Relang, the base Relang should remain as it is right now, and we should have a separate profile like a Relang++, which will have the graphical environment. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate right now. I'm just going to open the wiki, turn it to the right, and open the terminal. So the DE doesn't really matter. It could be GNOME or XFCE, or you could even be on i3 window manager, as long as you have something running on X or Wayland, and you have you are able to run Firefox or any browser and any kind of terminal emulator. So in this case, it's going to be console and Firefox. So if you have installed Arch Linux via the TTY installer, which is official, you'd notice that the user is root, and it's in the root directory. So currently we are on the live user, so this is the live ISO. That's why we need to go to the root user. So I can just type in sudo su and press enter and then cd to go into the root account, and that's pretty much it. Now we can skip a lot of parts of the installation. So for example, we can skip connecting to the internet because we already have internet connected. Now I'm on a VM right now, so that's the reason why. But when you have Wi-Fi, you could just go ahead and use your DEs, whatever tool they use. For example, on Plasma, it's over here. It's called NM Network Manager PA or something like that. So on GNOME, you can connect it via the top right. So whatever your means of connecting internet is, it's pretty simple in the case of Wi-Fi. So when you have internet access, you can obviously, now you'll be opening your browser and then opening the wiki. So you don't have to do all of this because you have internet, right? So the next thing we can do is first of all check whether we are on a legacy system or an EFI system. So I'm going to do that. As you can see, one of the very convenient thing to do is you can just go ahead and copy paste commands. So I have a lot of output being spitted out by the terminal, which means I'm on an EFI computer, and I know that obviously because that's how I set up this VM. But if you don't have any output, then you're probably on a legacy system. So now I'll have to partition my disk using GPT because that's better, and obviously EFI GPT, that's how it's done usually. So now let's go ahead and partition the disk. So now the wiki suggests to use fdisk, but a lot of people on YouTube and even I personally prefer cfdisk. So I'm going to type in cfdisk, and I can just press a key to continue. All right, and I have to select a label. So I'm just going to use GPT because, like I said, EFI GPT, that's how we do it. Let me open quickly Calamares to install Arch Linux, because this is one of the ways ALG, this is the main way ALG used to install Arch Linux via the graphical environment. So click next, 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 manual partitioning, and new partition table. This is basically what we would be doing when we just selected GPT on cfdisk, right? Click on OK, and then this is how you would normally partition the disk. You can also use something like let's say if Calamares is not available, you could use something like gparted or KD partition manager to partition. So you can skip cfdisk or this entire section completely, but I'm just going to show you how it's done. So click on, you can use your arrow keys to move around here. Click on new, and I'm going to create a 300 MB partition for where grub will be installed. So this is going to be our system EFI system partition. So selected that. Now I'm just going to create, let's say, how many, 20 should be good, 20 gigs for the root partition. So type is going to be Linux root x86-64, that's there, and then the remaining can become the home partition. So we have, I've created 3 partitions in this case: EFI system partition, the root partition, and the home partition. Now obviously these are not defined yet, so we'll have to do it manually. I'm just telling you this up front. So we're going to write this, press yes, and then quit cfdisk. You can do this via fdisk as it has been described here. It's a bit confusing actually, that's why I'm not done that. And you can eliminate cfdisk, fdisk, all of this completely if you install gparted or KD partition manager. So let me just go ahead and show you the partitions that we created. It should pop up via lsblk. So SDA is the disk. I'm using a 50 gig VM hard disk, and then we have 300 megabytes of partition which we intend to use for the EFI system partition. And then we have our root. So SDA2 will be our intended root, SDA3 will be our intended home. So that's what we want to do. So format the partition. This is what we want to do. By the way, you can also create a swap partition if you want to. That's completely up to you, especially for the older systems. So let's do this. mkfs fat32. So mkfs dot fat dash capital F32 and /dev /sda1. Why sda1? Because this is the partition that we are going to be formatting as fat32. Press enter, and that is done. Now in some case, if you get an error, what you want to do is specify I here, but anyway, since that's done, we are going to skip that. Now we need to mount this. Let's go ahead and format our root partition first. So mkfs.ext4 /dev /sda2, and I'm also going to format sda3 because that's our root partition. So both will be ext4, and our this SDA1 will be FAT32 EFI system partition. This guy is going to be root partition ext4, and this guy is going to be home partition. So that's that. Now let's see. We have formatted the partitions. We need to mount them. So first thing I need to do is mount /dev /sda2 /mnt. So this is important. We are mounting the root partition, all right, to mnt. And now we need to also mount the other partitions. So for example, UEFI system, mount the UEFI system partition. Okay, so I need to mount and then make dir /dev /sda1 /mnt /boot. All right, so that's done. I also need to mount my home partition. So mount mkdir /dev /sda3 mnt /home. So that's where it is going to be. Now if I type in lsblk at this point, lsblk, you can see that SDA1 has been mounted to boot, SDA2 has been mounted to root, and SDA3 has been mounted to home. So that's that. Now we are going to use now come to installation, and now we are going to use pacstrap command to create our a file system here. So let's go ahead and do that. Pacstrap /mnt. So we are doing this on the root directory, on the root partition. Base, then we need the kernel Linux, we need the firmware. Alright, so base Linux firmware, and for example it says you can substitute Linux for a kernel package of your choice, so you can install, like for example, Linux Zen or Linux Hardened or whatever. One thing I'm also going to install is Linux headers, and also what else, I think I should be installing base devil at this point, base devil, and I'll also install Vim. So that's pretty much it, and this should take a couple of minutes. So how much it's taking? A couple of seconds for me basically. So it's almost done. Just a minute, less than a minute actually. So that's pacstrap creating our file system for us. While that's done, we'll have to generate the fs tab file after that, so we can just copy this meanwhile that's going on. Right, so that took roughly a minute to complete. So I'm just going to paste the fs type command. So we have generated our file system table, and now let's go ahead and chroot into the new system. So arch-chroot /mnt. Again, I shouldn't type this, but I'm just copying and pasting stuff here and there, which is like the purpose to demonstrate how easy it becomes. So now I have to set my time zone. So I'm going to type in ln. We are creating a link, by the way, symbolic link. User share zone info region. So my region is Asia, and then Kolkata, and /etc local time. Because why Kolkata? Because I'm in India. So how can you find all of this? User share zone info. This is what happens when we are in a DE. You don't have to manually go ahead and ls all of this. We can go to root, and then we can go to, where is it, user share zone info, and you can see your entire whatever time zone is available. So I chose Asia because I'm in Asia, and then I chose Kolkata, which is this one here. So the benefits of having a graphical environment. Now we can go ahead and make the hardware clock synchronize with the system clock, and then we can select our localization. So I have Vim installed already. So Vim /etc/locale.gen, and then I have my this one UTF-8. Press X on Vim, and then I can save and exit. Simple as that. Locale-gen, generating my locale. So that's there. If you have some kind of keyboard layout which is different, you can go ahead and set that via etc/vconsole.conf. For me it's English, so I use the English keyboard, QWERTY keyboard. So that's there. Now etc hostname. Hostname is basically this guy here, Arch Linux GUI. So you don't want that. If you want that, that's completely up to you, but let's go ahead and do that anyways. So you can type in Vim. Let's open Vim, and etc hostname. You can use nano if you are comfortable with that, and I'm just going to type in Arch here as my host name. Save, exit, and that's done. So complete the network configuration for newly environment system. That may include suitable network management software. Okay, so what it's saying, let's just open this and see what network configuration, by what does it mean actually. So we need network manager installed, right? The thing is, we already have it installed because we are on a DE. So if I'm going to sudo pacman, well, I don't need sudo actually, pacman-ss or pacman-us, not u, what is it, pacman-qs network manager. Come on, I don't have it, is it? Or maybe I'm just misspelling the package. What is the package name? Let me see. Network manager Arch Linux network manager. Yeah, it's one word. So that's not, yeah, oh okay, right. So we need to install that. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, we need to go ahead and pacman-s network manager. We can also install wpa supplicant. And you know why that's not there? Because we are currently in the chroot environment. So I was wrong initially when I said that we have network manager on the ISO already. That's true, we have network manager on the ISO already, but that doesn't mean that network manager is available in the chroot, right? So we need WPA supplicant and wireless underscore tools. Supplication, oh my god, it should be supplicant. That's it. So forgive me for that mistake. We need to create a symbolic link. So ln-svf sv, or we can just system ctl enable network. It's been some time since I've installed archwire, but I remember a lot of the stuff, and that's it. So I was basically creating a symbolic link manually because that's what I used to do for ALG, but now I remember that I can use system ctl. All right, so that's that. mknit cpi, we can install, by the way, our CPU microcode. So pacman -s, I can install intel -u code since I'm on a Intel computer. We can install, I'll show you that. We can install also htop neofetch, for example. Neofetch htop. Okay, so that's that. Is there anything else that we need to install? So we just installed, we did all of this configuration. There's really not anything else we need. We need the bootloader, so let's go ahead and do that. Sudo, why am I typing sudo pacman -s grub and EFI boot manager, and I forgot the command actually, so I need to go ahead and see that. So let's go to grub and let's see how it's installed and how it's configured. So that's how we need to do it. So grub install, this is for EFI, by the way. My EFI directory is going to be /dev/sda1, and error, failed to get canonical path of udev. So let's see what's wrong. Okay, so I found out. So the problem was I was specifying the name wrong, which shouldn't be /dev/sda1, because remember we are in chroot. So I thought it should be /mnt/boot, but again mnt is the root, right? So we need to just specify /boot. As you can see, it's installed for x86-64 EFI platform. Installation has finished, no error reported. So now we need to create or generate the grub configuration file, which is done by this command. So you can copy and paste, and this will generate the grub configuration file. Now if you are dual booting, which we are not covering in this video, you can install OS Prober and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. So I can go ahead and reboot the system and see what we get. Before we reboot, we need to go ahead and unmount all of the partitions. So let's go to our oh yeah, one thing we forgot is to set the root password. So let's do that quickly. Let's type in passwd, and I'm just going to set a new password. This is for the root account, and now I can exit safely, and I can umount /r/mnt, and it's just going to unmount everything, and I can just go ahead and reboot the system. All right, so we rebooted into our system. Let's go ahead and boot from Arch Linux. There we are. So we can type in root, and we can type in our password, and we are logged in, and we have installed Arch Linux. That's pretty much it. So now you can go ahead and create your users and groups, and then install your DE of choice and stuff like that. But basically, this is one way of how you can install Arch Linux, and hence proves my proof of concept and supports the issue that has been created. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.